Hello, listeners, and welcome to the 68th episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. I'm Jacob, and on this episode, I'm joined by
Duncan,
Jack,
Amy,
John.
And we've got two special guests joining us to help recap the LVO. Gentlemen, if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, you can go first there, buddy.
Hey guys, my name's Blake.
And I'm Alex.
Blake, Alex, we are thrilled to have you on board for this show. Really excited to get the opportunity to talk about the LVO and how that shook out. Without burying the lead, if I recall, that was a victory for the Loyalists, was it?
Mm-hmm. This time, yeah.
Hearty congratulations to those who played. We also want to take this time to shout out our sponsors. We've got to start with our patrons over on patreon.com. Join the show there for the exclusive opportunity to chat with the hosts, as well as to get previews of forthcoming posters and other merch. Likewise, we want to thank other sponsors, including Elric's Hobbies, Monument Hobbies, and Pop Goes the Monkey. At each of these vendors, you can use our affiliate link, as well as the code HERESYABB at checkout for a discount. But before we get too far into that kind of talk, we know we've got to kick it off with hobby progress. John, what you been up to?
Like I've been saying the last few episodes, I've been trying to build all the Ultramarine power armor that I can get my hands on, and so I've recently built about 120 Marines. I got all those guys put on sticks this week and went through 4 cans of spray primer to get them all primed. I've got about 30 guys. All the destroyers are still waiting for their pads to come from occasional guest of the show, Michael. He's printing up some destroyer pads that I like. The look of the Mordathan squad's shoulder pads a little bit better than the average destroyer pad, so I'm having him print those for me. And then through random cleanings and things, I came across some stuff I've been looking for a long time, some acupuncture needles that I use for making aerials. It's going to help out with some of the Vox casters and stuff I want to build. And then some other oddball bits and ends. In storage, I came across my 30 ATV bikes and 30 just kind of generic bikes. And so I can start building those once I get all this power armor off my paint desk and off my decals and everything like that. I also went through, and since I've decided to double all my points, I probably need to know how many points I have. So I went through and actually added up everything I have. Trying to do it as one list caused Quartermaster to crash and burn a couple times and lose some data. But after everything was rebuilt, I managed to break it down into 4 different lists. And it looks like I've got close to 20,000 points, which is kind of what I figured I had. And that breaks down into almost 5,000 points worth of tanks, about 3,000 points worth of, or 3,500 points worth of jet bikes and kind of hovering stuff, and then kind of other stuff's kind of spread all over, so some aircraft and things like that. And then I went through and added up some of the stuff that I've got decaled. So about this time last year, when I was going through on the podcast and building some Kratos and Spartans and stuff like that. And so we're waiting in the winds. I've got about 5,000 points worth of stuff that's just been decaled, so it's waiting for colors. And then sitting around here with all the Marines I haven't pointed out, but I also found some other aircraft that I need to get painted. And so just kind of pushing all that stuff together as I also do job applications and stuff like that during the day. So just kind of working through all the stuff around the house and trying to get everything put together and painted. And I'm still working occasionally on the table for what used to be Adepticon, but it looks like I'm not going, so I'm just going to try to finish it up for about the same time. And so I picked up some other terrain stuff while I'm waiting to work on some of that stuff. So it's just working through it all. And I think I'm going to pass it on to Jamie.
what have I gotten done this week? So, hobby-wise, I've worked a bit on some inducti. It was a Mark 6 squad with their Dark Angels with their little Volkite shenanigans. And then I also started building a, what do you call them? The Plasma Flamer guys for Dark Angel.
The Interrupters?
Interdemptors, yeah. I started building a squad of, let's go with 30. How about that? Of those. And other than that, that's pretty much been it. I've been pretty busy this week, to be honest with y'all. So, but some progress. at least. I guess I'll pass it on to let's go, Jack. Jack, you're muted.
This
Okay.
week, I have started to work on pulling out the details on a tank. I've been working on just doing the grind. I'm at that point of all these 16 or 17 tanks that I have sitting on my hobby desk. So nothing exciting. Silver here, black there, the normal stuff. What about you, Duncan? You look like you're hobbying away.
I actually am hobbying right now. I'm sitting here and I'm finishing up the tabards on my Dawnbreakers for the Blood Angels. This week, I have ordered a tank to put onto your hobby desk for you to work on, sir. I have finished up everything on the Angels tiers and heavy support squads. They're just literally waiting for bases that I need to order and decals and final seal. And I've been working on these Dawnbreakers all week. They're the tabard's the last step but one before they're just about done as well. And that the last step for them after this will be decals and the eye lenses, and then they're going to be done. After this, I think I need to work on my 2 dreadnoughts, maybe my three dreadnoughts actually. I'll probably start working on those Monday or Tuesday. I actually have Tuesday off, so I'll probably spend some time doing that. Other than that, I haven't done a lot of anything whatsoever. Jacob, you do anything fun?
My hobby time's been pretty limited of late, as the fiance and I are closing in on having to lock in the last of our vendor choices for our wedding. Hobby time has become the thing that had to go, regrettably. We're still churning out new episodes, but that's gotten most of the disposable time on that front. As for those of you, our special guests joining us for this episode, you guys been up to any hobby in the last week or two?
You can go ahead, Blake.
So, yeah, I have been working on a Sons of Horus list that I think I'm going to shoot for LVO next year. I've been having a lot of conversations with Duncan about that. And then I've been working on my models that kind of got messed up either in travel on the way back from Vegas or while at the mega battle. I unfortunately had a couple of despoilers get stepped on, so that's been like working on those and trying to get the back up to 20. And then my goal for Adepticon is to have another 10 to 20 on despoilers because they were pretty awesome for LVO this year. Alex?
Haven't built any more Shadow Specters. So I was bored while I was running the event, and I just kept trying to find something to buy so I could build it and paint it. And I built one while I was there, but holy God, like those things are definitely an expert kit. Like they are fiddly.
Yeah, I've got a
they're
friend
beautiful,
that's working on some of them too. They're just all over the place.
Yeah. So I had no chance to actually prime it and paint it, but I have some commissions I need to work on. But I got COVID while I was there, and I don't want to like infect the models that I'm working on, so I've stayed away from them. But I've spent most of this weekend converting up like a Space Wolf Praetor, so I've got something new for the Praetor Weight Championships at Adepticon this year. Because the first year I ran my Raven Guard jump Praetor, and he made it like a few rounds in and then died. And then last year I ran Narak Kyranny. He made it like into a round and then died. I can't even remember what happened. Some kind of chicanery. Somebody like, Pretty came in to save me, and then somebody like just started rolling for Pretty and killed Narak Kyranny, like double crossed him. It was who?
Isn't that the round that I had to come in second place too?
Anyway, so he died. So every time that like my Praetor doesn't win, I just make a new one, or I bring a new one. But I'm out of like pre-built Praetors, so I've been just flexing my green stuff muscle quite a bit. I've got quite a bit of fur, a couple like cord wraps, some leather wraps going on them right now, and right now I'm working. I have to do some refinement on it, but I added kind of like a Viking like face mask. Like if you look at a Viking helm, it usually kind of has like almond eyes shaped on it, with like an extra little. I mean, I don't know medieval armor, so I can't tell you what it's called, but just trying to like angle it out and pare it down so that it's nice and smooth and looks decent. But I'm about ready to just give up and just order the Space Wolf Raider and steal the helmet off of it.
So are you trying to base it off the one helmet that's pretty much like the Celtic eyes and nose guard helmet?
I didn't add the nose guard to it. So it's kind of like if you take the nose guard out and bring it up to a point in the middle. So I think my mistake originally was I was making it rounded, kind of like the helmets look, but then the rest of the armor, like the Space Wolf specific armor, actually has like some harder angles in it. So, but I think that'll actually be my saving grace because I'll just cut and cut. Because if you mix milliput with green stuff, you can get some stuff that you can actually sand and cut without it tearing or behaving the way that you don't want it to go. So I've got that, and then I've always kind of had like a view. I think Blake and I were talking about this maybe at LVO. Like I've had a view of what I think Space Wolves would actually look like, which is not how the models represent. Like the models, there's like wolfing your wolf, and like this wolf was my pet, and now it's dead, so I skinned it and I wear it around. And that, like, I'm a dog guy, and I couldn't imagine like skinning my Siberians when they die and putting them on me. So instead, I've got like more bird totems, and I'm just working in like Raven Guard bits and things like that, rune stones, still teeth and things like that, because they could be from anything, and fur could be from anything too, right? I'm sure there's more than just wolves on Fenris for them to hunt and murder. And then, so hopefully I'll finish that this evening, because he's getting real close, but if not, I'll finish him tomorrow. Because I also need a couple of models done and ready. I got to build a dreadnought or a tank here this week as well, because I'm teaching a army painting 101 in Montreal this weekend, like the first weekend in February, with Miles. So I'm not sure when this airs, but if it airs last minute and you're in the area, we still have a couple of tickets left. Let's come learn the little legend style of army painting.
Speaking of someone who is a big fan of a lot of the medieval armor from that period, I really look forward to seeing that helmet when you get done with it. I really do.
Yeah, I'll throw you a picture here, Duncan. Like, it's rough. Actually, maybe I can just throw it in this group chat. See if I can do that. But
it's rough.
The helmet's pretty rough right now. Yeah. The rest of it's shaping up a little bit. I'm going to move the raven skull and the feathers to the other side, and then replace that with just some rune stones, I think, but some protective rune stones.
Oh man, I see what you mean about being rough, but I'm definitely liking where it's coming from.
Yeah, so I just got to make a couple strategic cuts and sand it down on both sides, and it'll be fine. And I might snip the spike off and put like a top knot thing on it instead.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so it should look nice. And then I don't know. Hopefully he all the extra love and care that goes into him will put him through. But Narat Kearney was like a heavy conversion. He like didn't make it past round 1. But I also didn't take a Paragon Blade. I took like a Charnable Saber. Not the winning strategy, I guess. Yeah. So that's kind of all I've done. Really, because I've been stuck in the house for like a week. Because I'm still blowing snot out of my nose.
I, for one, hope you get feeling better soon.
You know what? Honestly, I haven't felt that bad. I just can't leave because I'll infect like everybody. Like, so I'm just behaving myself.
There you go.
Yeah.
Have we missed anybody, or is that everybody?
I think that's it.
I sure think that sounds about like it. So, if I understand, we don't have any pre-orders this week, but we have had a couple of big things happen since the last show, one of which was the announcement that came on Thursday of our next campaign supplement. And it turns out that we will be falling in line with the direction it looks like Legions Imperialis is going. And we will be doing Beta Garmin for Horus Heresy. We've heard that there will be rules in that book for Shattered Legions and for Black Shields. Is there anything else that we immediately know or that's like standing out or jumping out at us about that announcement?
There's like a
Unreleased
new campaign. So, sorry, go ahead.
unreleased characters are going to be getting rules. For example, Shadrach Medusan is going to get rules, and my favorite little Horus is going to get rules. So
Yep.
those two things
I
right
think they said
there.
So
for R as well,
Medusan
right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Jack, happy dance.
is Medusan present in the what do I want to call the Legacies of the Age of Darkness PDF, or did he get like hard squatted with the edition cut over?
I believe he was squatted.
Okay, so we've got that. Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting to see how that shakes out. Pretty exciting that it looks like hopefully our annual cadence is going to be about one campaign book, and then I really hope that we can get something else that's a worthwhile publication instead of a second exemplary battle book. But who am I and what do I know?
We got a third-party drop. Noble Chairs, which is another company that makes gamer chairs, released a Warhammer 40k edition of their chair. Looks like you sit on the Aquila. That's kind of where your upper back would be on the chair back. And in the actual chair back, it's got an embroidered map of the solar system that looks a lot like the kind of painted maps that Duncan and I collect that come out. And then there is only war on the bottom of it. It is priced like a gamer chair, so it looks like it's about $620 plus shipping.
Yikes.
It does not look as nice quality as the Secret Lab chairs. I've got a Cyberpunk one that I currently sit on for all my office and hobby needs. It just doesn't look like it's got as much metal as a Secret Lab or other samely priced chairs. And I haven't seen any reviews on it since it is brand new, but it's something to look at if you're redoing your office, your game area.
For sure.
Oh, and a certain book may have dropped this weekend.
Indeed, we finally saw the release of The End and the Death, Part 3. People have some feelings about it, but I think we're going to give people some time at least to digest their feelings and let others read and catch up before we go in depth on that.
Oh, good,
yeah, I'm not even done the first one.
I'm like a chapter in, so I definitely need time.
Yeah, I got the audio book since both times that they put it up for pre-order I missed, and then I was going to go to the Citadel to camp out, and then a friend showed up as I was waking up at 2 a.m. to start getting my wife ready to go, and he said that he was 7th in line and that they had 5 books, and so he went home. He said the people that got books had been camped out there since 7 p.m. the night before.
Like just 5 hardcovers, you mean?
Yeah,
for the limited
just
editions.
Regular.
Yeah.
For the limited
Oh, they had limited editions.
Yeah, the Citadel usually gets limited edition stuff. I used to show up at 3 a.m. and then just kind of take a nap until the store opened, because they don't open until noon on a Saturday, which kind of sucks too.
Yeah.
You should have done the Best Buy thing with the tent, John.
I know. I saw someone put it up on eBay already, the full set for $3,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's worth just taking a small moment to indicate it was my understanding that the first round orders or pre-orders went up. A number of orders or pre-orders, as it were, got canceled, and then people got to re-queue in an attempt to place new orders. Is that pretty accurate without putting a whole lot of spin or slant on it? One way or the other?
There's something going on with this new store in that, like, you re-queue. So before, I used to be able to log in 10 to 15 minutes before the store opened, and they would put the stuff up, because they break it down by release times per, like, US site, UK site. Now they still do that. They still break it down like that. So we get our releases at noon central in the US. But the problem is, it seems whenever you log into the site, whether you log in at 11:55, 11:50, or noon, it seems you're placed into a queue, and they don't know if they're pulling from that queue or they're randomly pulling from that queue. But if you go to a store, you jump the queue entirely, and you can just buy stuff.
See, I didn't know that. Otherwise, I would have showed up at my store and done that.
Well, there were
I got on the queue like an hour beforehand, and I didn't get into the store. Like
I
on the
I joined
first
the
one.
store at like 11. I joined the store at noon, and it said I had an hour to wait.
Yeah,
even
and
when I was
then
joining in. So I don't know if they re-queue you at noon or not, but it kind of seems like they do. And then this whole thing is a giant.
yeah. I mean, honestly, the fix is very simple. GW, if you're listening, from one business marketing strategy professional to another, you have this thing called Warhammer Plus, and if you link limited edition purchases to Warhammer Plus subscription accounts, you will increase your subscription numbers, and you will solve this problem of like scalping bots
And I
snapping
will
up all of the
never
issues.
scream louder.
Oh yeah, and I've got an identity background, so there's many ways you could fight bots as well. I had to work with a lot of companies that dealt with it in things that are way outside the miniature realm, but there's different things you can put up to do bot protection or bot detection, and it seems that GW doesn't have either of those, especially since it seems like a lot of the scalpers are just like paying to allow you to jump the queue, which means that they have something inside GW's hardware that's allowing them to jump that queue.
They probably so GW spent $6 million with a new company to redesign it and enhance this thing, right? So I mean, it's not really GW, it's whatever IT company they hired, and I'd hate to be the account manager over there right now. That'd be a nightmare. But like, there's a whole bot Discord, like a scalping Discord, and they share their programs to do it. And there's probably a guy that works in that company that is sharing like the exploit or writing the exploit and then selling it. I don't know, like shy of tying it to Warhammer Plus subscriptions, I don't think there's really going to be an effective way to do it, because these scalpers are like organized and they get pings for things outside of their area of expertise, like including shoes, hats, jerseys, like anything.
About the Apple Vision goggles, they had because they needed like a Face ID, a scan of your face to order those, and they had developed a program that made fake faces to feed it into the queue to get their bots to order those. Yeah. I mean, if there's a will, there's a way,
Anyway,
if only we could use all that like ingenuity for good. What a utopia we could live in.
No matter how you slice it, scalpers somehow got hold of multiple copies.
Yeah.
And then scalpers lost those copies, and then some of those copies got into the hands of hobbyists and fans. Yeah.
And I've heard that they canceled it again. Like they canceled the scalping orders again.
That would be awesome. All I care about, honestly, I don't care about scalper prices or bots. I'm just glad that they actually gave the fans a second crack at the books, because screw the scalpers. I understand some people out there are going to make money on it. More power to them. But I'm just happy that more fans had a chance. I lost both my chances. I didn't get either one of them. I haven't gotten a single one of the special books yet. I'm just happy that I have the map set at this point.
Yeah. I was going to say, you're into the maps.
Yeah.
Aren't in the maps, but I got all of the other limited edition books.
Yeah. Do we have anything to bring up or talk about before we start getting to you guys' LVO breakdown?
I want those friggin' Black Shield rules.
Same.
Yeah, I want the Shattered Legion rules so bad right now.
3,000 points. I had 3,000 points of Ashen Claws that I haven't actually been able to legally run above 1,500 points.
I got 3,000 points of Shattered Legions that I haven't been able to run for the last almost 2 years at this point. I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm eager.
It's an expansion of Heresy. I'm happy.
Yep. Yeah. And the campaign system, I'm excited to read as well.
Same. From what I understand on the campaign system, it looks like it's going to be kind of a takeoff of the one we got in the Siege of Chthonian. Maximum of 6 missions before you hit the big final campaign mission.
Yeah.
So if that's what they're going to stick with, that basic format, I dig it. I'm just looking forward to seeing all the rules, all the new stuff, and being happy. So,
do you think they're going to be 4-turn rounds games again?
Honestly, I kind of hope so.
Yeah. I feel like that's what they're pushing us towards, which I'm fine with.
I like the 4 turns a lot.
In first edition, I was a fan of getting 5 or 6 turns, but currently, most of the time the game's over by turn 3 anyway, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, 4 turns seems like it's a pretty positive change.
Yeah.
Same here.
So,
So, LVO?
Yeah.
So, tell us about the event, brother. What was going on? What was the narrative of the entire deal? What kind of missions, etc.? You have the floor.
Yeah. So I guess that question sounds like it would probably be best answered by myself. So narratively speaking, when I took over LVO in 2022, it was the first year that it was at Bally, or it wasn't at Bally. So as kind of an homage to all the stuff that had happened previously, we closed it out with the Siege of Ballast, and I tried some campaign, tweaks and tricks and things like that in there. And I had done hidden objectives for everybody, but I actually gave them the missions each time and printed off players' packs, and it worked okay because we still only had like 30 odd players when at the end of the day. So I was manually tallying up people's campaign records, and I'd put little like hydras on some of them. So there was like actually a third faction that a lot of people didn't realize they were working in favor of. And ultimately the planet got destroyed, so that way we could shift and start kind of fresh at the next one, which was last year. And so last year, everybody made planetfall on Rio Prime, and we played through the 3 days. It was growing in points each day last year. And, so you started as like a landing party, you establish forward operating bases, and then you get reinforcements so that you can push towards the front line, and then you get even more reinforcements. The Titans join in from Adeptus Titanicus, and you can kind of start rolling that way. And we included the scores from Adeptus Titanicus, the campaign point system that I kind of have. And it's a fairly simple one. It's, secondary objectives don't win you the game. They give you campaign points. And then if you win the game, you get 3 campaign points. If you tie it, you get 2. If you lose, you get 1. Because even if you lost, you still would have, to some degree, affected the war effort for your side. Whether that was just in reducing the amount of enemy combatants or whatever. And when we got to the mega battle, we had a few people bring 2 Zone Mortalis tables, so we smushed those together, and we made this Mega Zone Mortalis, and the Loyalists ended up capturing it. It was a word bearer ship, and then they decided to crash it into the planet. So the planet got crashed into, and that sort of allowed me to build the narrative for what happened this year, because we want to continue the story. The ship crashed, so orbit's obviously a mess. So instead of just leaving the planet, rinse, repeat, land on a new planet, and keep going, we actually started with 2,500 points, and you had to escape the sort of cloud cover and dust bowl that had been created by the insanity of a ship crashing onto the planet. And then everyone got a black shield. So somebody whose armor got so tarnished, they just kind of linked up with whoever was there, and they're an expert saboteur, and I printed 100 friggin' models that RG42 graciously sculpted into one piece minus the backpack for me. So huge shout out to him, and thanks to him or her for that, because it was very well received. I think people loved it. Last year we had a remembrancer mechanic. I think people may have preferred that a little bit, but I'll save that commentary for when Blake gives the player's perspective. And then at this point now, everyone's just trying to survive. So we're waiting for reinforcements. We're waiting for orbit to clear up. And as a result, since most of your major artillery formations and tank columns would have been destroyed in the mega battle and with having a ship crash on them, and the fact that orbit's a mess, we limited armored breakthrough and drop pod lists. So anything that had to come from orbit or that relied on high amounts of vehicles and war material, because it really was a guerrilla war, and that's why we went with the Black Shield and the Black Shield mechanic. Missions, I started doing this last year, and I continued it this year. I moved everything to QR codes. So you can scan your QR code, and then you, on day one, will have 3 missions to choose from, 3 primary objectives to choose from, and you choose your primary objective in secret at the start of the game. And that allows you to sort of play your narrative the way that you see fit. and shape the story for your character that you're building down here on the planet. Because that's really what we've tried to push with LVO, since for a long time it had this connotation of being this sort of ultra competitive heresy scene. Is we're trying to really sort of steer into the narrative, because that's how I would want to play if I was there. And if I'm being honest, it's, I didn't look to what I thought most people would want. I just built what I wanted to play. And then you can choose 2 secondaries each mission, but you can only choose your primary objective once. And then day 2, we moved into, okay, now we're really starting to get dire. We've had some losses since day 1. What can we do to survive, and what sort of missions would show that sort of desperation? So raiding supply depots, things like that, until we get to day 3. And in day 3, since the traders were on the back end, because we also had the Zone Mortalis event feeding in points, so everything that was going on in orbit, we had the Adeptus Titanicus filling in points, we had Aeronautica filling in campaign points, and we had Legions Imperialis filling in campaign points. So we really had like all levels except for Battlefield Heresy, because there was none, feeding into what was happening on the story on Real Prime. So with traders having been on the back foot, they managed to find a fortress, occupy the fortress, and try to hold off until they can get rescued. So we had one of the, we didn't have the Mega ZM come, but we had another ZM come. And so they were in orbit. They were a trader ship, and their objective was to hopefully extract those traders. The traders just had to hold out long enough for them to get down. So the guys in the ZM had to kind of clear out the loyalist problem on their decks. Meanwhile, the main ZM in orbit also had a Thunderhawk, a trader Thunderhawk on one of their tables. So occasionally the guy would come over and like do bombing runs to support the traders, who were massively outgunned and trying to hold this fortress. We had a guy from California, Reed, and he brought like a whole wall system with a gatehouse and like a checkpoint. And we actually built around through the mega tables this fortress, and had all of the traders deploy on the inside, with the exception of a few that deployed outside that manned weapon station. So we had like the missile silo, and we had like the big gun cannon thing. And so they were up there just trying to hold on and fire out to try to hold the loyalists at bay as much as they could. Unfortunately, the traders were not winning on their own low orbit ship. So despite hitting a couple lance strikes and providing a few reinforcements to the traders on the surface, they opted to detonate their reactor and just scuttle the ship, which unfortunately meant traders had no way off the planet. And it also disrupted comms and created like an EMP, because it was like a nuke going off in low orbit. So a number of large vehicles ended up taking a weapons destroyed result to kind of represent the effects of the EMP on each model. And then there was no longer able to have table-to-table interaction. So the weapon stations that were outside of the fortress weren't able to shoot back and support. So ultimately, the traders got wiped out because you can't hang on against that forever. And I'm not entirely sure where it'll move to next year, but that's kind of the gist. So there wasn't specific missions like, hey, everybody's going to play this one thing day 1, round 1. But we reduced it down to 2 rounds. We did 4 turns per game, and the whole event is really about player empowerment. So you can make your story, you can make your character, and we actually use the Praetor console upgrade system that I cooked up for this, which is, instead of a Paragon blade, you can buy a console upgrade. So the only way that you could technically take a Paragon blade is you'd have to pay extra for it, because you'd have to be a champion. And I think there was only 1, maybe 2 people who actually did that, but we had a few people that took like more attack consoles, or took Psyker consoles, or Praetors, or I think somebody took like a Praevian as well, if I remember. Like they were like, oh yeah, here's this Praevian guy he's just stepped up because the last sort of Praetor got squashed. And I was really just hoping to inspire people to like not just take here's my Praetor with like a Power Fist and a Paragon Blade, and he's exactly the same as everybody else. And it seemed to work good. Like there didn't seem to be any wild swings because of that mechanic at all. The only thing that I will note, and I got lucky, I only had this incident once, because on day one I did put in one of the primary objectives you could take was from the main book, and it doesn't work as well every time if you mix primary objectives from the main book and Siege of Cthonia. But there was only one matchup where it really swung it in one particular way, unfortunately. But the guy was cool about it. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Is there anything that I missed from the EOS perspective or from the design perspective that you guys were hoping to hear?
How many players did you end up having?
So we sold 100 tickets, and we had I think 79 players actually make it. Yeah. So and I know of at least 6 people whose flights got canceled like the day of. So we would have been well into the 80s, which is actually a very good, very very good attrition rate. Normally you can expect right around what we had, which is 20%. But yeah, I mean, last year I think we had 68 show up, and we had sold 80 something tickets. So we sold almost 20 more tickets this year.
Nice.
And there was a few new people who were like, "Yeah, I wanted to try this. I couldn't convince anyone else to come because of the the reputation that LVO Heresy had for a long time." And they're like, "I'm not looking to go have sweaty games all day." And I think people liked the more relaxed atmosphere. The only two games instead of 3. Like it gave people a chance to explore the convention. A few people played extra games, like and I don't do like sort of auto brackets or tell people where to go. I kind of let them pair themselves up to a degree. So you started to see like grudges and stuff come out, and you started to be like, I want to fight that guy. Like it's time for me to sort him out.
What it was.
Yeah. And which is nice because then you get people excited to play each other, and they're excited to meet each other and experience what's happening. And ultimately, I think it was a positive experience, but that'd be more for, I think, Blake's side of the conversation.
And you dropped the there was no competitive this year, correct?
That's right. Yeah, there was no competitive. I mean, last year we did it because we received a ton of emails and a lot of comments and stuff that we need to have this, and I think we sold 14 tickets and 7 people showed up.
Yeah. No, I remember talking with you about it last year, and like, yeah. So
yeah, it's just not the direction that the bulk of Heresy players want to go. So unfortunately, there's just not the market for it, particularly at LVO. I mean, maybe at some of the smaller ones, maybe it would make sense, but like some of the other FLG events, maybe. But usually, I think the competitive players are showing up to 40K or AOS because there's usually like a cash, or even kill team now, because there's a cash prize that goes with it.
Wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I think it's like 10 grand for 40K. Like I think if you win 40K, you get like 10 grand or something. Like, or it used to be that way anyway. Like there used to be a substantial cash prize for it.
What did Mike Grant say? The winner also gets every new release.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they get the cash prize plus they get every new release for the gaming system that they prefer. Or maybe it was Faction. It was one of the two. But still, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think it was everything for that game that they want, like for the next year. So, like the guy who won, he was a Necron player, I guess. It went down to Necrons and LVR, which is kind of cool, like a cool matchup. But while I personally would maybe consider playing in a kill team event, because I love kill team and I feel like it's decently balanced. It's a lot, and it's a lot less to think about. It's like 10 models on the high end.
Well, one thing I've always enjoyed hearing is, what was your favorite part of the event narratively? What did you see on the tables that made you sit there and go, man, these guys really fit exactly the kind of players that I love seeing, and they make this such a game I want to actually return and keep seeing and running.
Yeah, so we saw a lot of like heavy themed list, which was cool. The guy who won Best Painted, Drew Garson, he had like a Unification Wars era, like a pre-Sanguinius era Blood Angels. They're like Revenant Legion. It's all
That's
painted
nice.
up in gray. And his warlord was he was using Artel W's Sanguinius miniature. It's called the Guardian Angel miniature.
Yeah.
That got CND'd because it's about to go like OOP. I saw on Artel's Facebook the other day. And it's a pretty good mini. I like it. I still might buy it. Even though I have 2 Sanguiniuses already. But he found like this really obscure bit of lore that actually came out of like the Inquisitor game. So in this little, I can't remember which expansion of Inquisitor it is either, but they talk about it because there's a campaign where you're trying to get the Angel of Destruction, I think it's called, and you're trying to chase it down as an Inquisitor because you're like, oh, this is what the Emperor used to close out all the demonic incursions that were happening on Terra during Unification. And it was like a progenitor to the Primarchs. It was like a first swing at the bat, but it was almost like AI, where it was like everything was black and white to the point where it's like humans are going to keep opening demon portals, so I should just kill humans. And so the Emperor had to like prick it into a coffin and then lock it up in there because you can't actually kill it. Because it's kind of like all Primarchs like mixed into one. So it's almost like a winged Emperor's clone that has like a one-track mind. And so he was using that model as his warlord. And I was like, cool, man, that's like a really obscure bit of lore, and I dig it. And then he had a bunch of Saturnine Terminators and like Mark 1 Thunder Armor Marines. But the paint job on it was sick. So if you jump over the
really, really good job on that.
Yeah, it was well deserved. And then there was a few other like cool themed lists. Like actually Colton has an amazing story going through his. So when he came in 2022, he was loyalist. He's played Ultramarines every time. And then when we were doing, I guess when I was doing the push for Beta Garmin, he was playing some games within that, and his Praetor died. And so when his Praetor died, the chaplain kind of took over, but the chaplain, because the chaplaincy program was designed by the Word Bearers, actually took his Ultramarines traitor. So now his Ultramarines are traitors. So he used the Praetor upgrade to give his Praetor like the chaplain upgrade, and just walked around on the traitor side, like messing things up. And he had like a drill army, which was cool. So you don't see too many of those yet.
No, you don't see that very often.
Yeah.
Narratively, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, and like that's exactly like the kind of that I love to hear about, and that I love seeing, like when you're looking at theme and you're looking at story, and that's kind of one of the main reasons as well why we don't allow unique characters in the core campaign. We'll let them out for the mega battle because it's kind of like, an Iliad type situation where it's such this large scale extreme war. Like, who's to say what's actually happening there? Who's to say who was actually there? Myth, legend, full presence, things like that, especially in a time of gods and demons like that. But we did have Demon Fulgrim show up and just slap a lot of peepees.
Yeah, he did. Chris rocked quite a lot of Loyalist Alpha Legion, Omegon, and my entire right flank of Raven Guard before he like disappeared into the warp. And I think he end up possessing 1,000 Sun and like blowing him to pieces, and like is that what happened?
Yeah. So they came over and they were like, we need a lot of help on this table, and Demon Fulgrim is still alive, like, but he blinked out into the warp, and he's like, can I come back on that table because the 1,000 Suns player is there? And I was like, yeah, just make it like a flesh change moment. But like he has to like pick one of his like characters that's still alive on the table, and it has to like explode into Demon Fulgrim. And so they did that, and then gave a little bit of assistance over there, but I don't think it was enough, because I think that table had like 2 Warlord Titans on it, because there was no traitors Warlord Titans on the table.
Oof.
And the Loyalists brought 3. Yeah, so but it was cool, man. The traders were into it. They were like, hell yeah, we're outgunned. Like, we just need to hang on. Like, what are we gonna do? And there was Earthshaker cannons on the wall, so they were manning those, and they were taking advantage of every single like battlefield asset that they could get their hands on to try to deal with it.
That sounds like a lot of fun was had by everybody.
It was so much fun.
So overall, Favorite army, you've already said. What was your favorite moment that you saw the entire event?
I'm not 100% sure. If I'm being honest, I spent a lot of the time like just up at the EO station, because I was already doing like 15,000 steps a day, and my dogs were barking. So I didn't walk around to see too much, but maybe Blake's got a comment on something that he saw that was pretty rad.
All right. Well, Blake, take it away, man. How was your event?
It was actually a lot of fun. Thanks, Alex, for doing a great job again. I'll say, like, as from a player's perspective, I really like the 4 turns, and I really like the secret objectives for primary. You got to pick between the shifting priorities, All or Nothing or Shatter Strike on day 1 from the Siege of Sithonia campaign book. And then on day 2, you got to pick from Control the Field, Tides of War, or War of Lies. And then in between all that, you had to set up 3 objectives in the middle, or at least not in your deployment zone, and then 1 onslaught objective in each deployment zone. And there was a lot of cunning and trickery kind of in that. Gosh, man, there was so much like just crazy stuff that happened. At one point, Eric threw his treasure. Oh my god, what are the salamanders called? The Terminators.
Oh, the fire drakes.
Fire drakes. He threw fire drakes and Omegon at Demon Fulgrim, and before that happened, Zayden Cole, my Moritat Praetor, because Raven Guard Moritat shot 11 shots plus his Seeker Squad into Fulgrim's retinue, and I think I killed like all but 2, and then he kind of like Eric came in and kind of finished him off, and basically Fulgrim was down to like 3 wounds, and then passed his It Will Not Die, and then proceeded to just like eat everything, because once he killed the Fire Drake champion, he just mowed through him, and it was just like, oh no, there's not much that we can do. For my games, probably one of my favorite moments was I was playing against I played against World Eaters twice and Death Guard once, and then Word Bearers last. And there was one moment where my Moritat single-handedly killed Amara Gaul with his chainfire Archaeotech pistols, and I think that was pretty amazing. Actually, I was like, "Oh, this is real good," and I kind of felt bad but I mean, I didn't bring a lot of cheese. I think that was the cheesiest model I brought. A ton of people brought the Chaplain upgrade on their Praetors with Thunderhammers. One of the cool things that Alex and I talked about kind of beforehand was, there's so much instant death out there. What if we did something a little bit different? And so for this event, one extra rule that I really, really liked, and it actually saved my Praetor's life for one game, was we put the fated special keyword on the Praetors, on your Warlord. It was just your Warlord.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so instead of getting instant death by Brutal 2 Thunderhammers, you took D3 wounds per. So the guy rolled 2 1s, so I had one health left on my Praetor, and I was like, yes! So I actually ended up turning that one around. There was a ton of cool things as far as the Black Shield goes. So the Saboteur, before the game started, you could sabotage one unit, and if you had your Black Shield on the board, you could pick one unit and you had to roll a d6, anything but a 1, and you did d3 strength 8 AP2 hits to that unit. But if you roll a 1, he kills himself. And I watched 2 guys roll 1s to kill their Black Shield before they could do anything with it. And they were kind of definitely. Yeah. I will say I like the Black Shield more than the Remembrancer, just for the fact that the Remembrancer is a human, and like leadership 5, toughness 3, initiative 2, like weapon skill, like I think 2 or 3. He's very hard to keep alive.
I think it was
and
one,
now he had
right?
or
Because they were
one,
like,
yeah. He
they're
was
just
so hard to keep
civilians with
alive.
like cameras.
Yeah, they were so hard to keep alive. But if you did something like amazing, like if you killed the enemy warlord, you got campaign points for it. And I think Chris last year actually his Remembrancer killed another dude's Remembrancer, and he like did this really cool conversion for her. It's pretty awesome. But
yeah.
Do they have
I
to
haven't
stay
named my
alive
Black
like
Shield yet.
Lucas's?
Sorry.
Do they have to see it and then stay alive like Lucas's do, or is it just happens to be on the battlefield?
So, yes, they either have to stay alive, or you can have the unit that's escorting it just sit tight for a turn. And in the shooting phase, instead of shooting at anything, so it can't move and it can't shoot, and the Remembrancer can upload the pictures. So you can kind of send them to the cloud, but it's an action that had to be done. So every time that I'm doing something for, because I think I sent Lucas the Remembrancer rules, and then I think he just adapted a little bit from that.
Yeah, I used it to help when I was playing Zach at Adepticon when I killed his Warhound. Yeah, I took his Warhound out turn 1, and the Remembrancer was like, "Ooh, pictures."
yeah, exactly. Because the whole thing was like making propaganda out of it. So I try to look at things that I can turn into small gambles when I'm doing LVO, because it's in Vegas, so it's kitschy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will say the last thing. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say, so like that's why you didn't have to do the sabotage attack with the Black Shield, but if you did, there was a chance that he blew his own hands off.
Dude, my Saboteur did so much work. I think I got like 11 or 12 campaign points just from him throughout the event. His gun, it didn't jam on me, but it jammed on my opponent. He rolled 3 5s to shoot.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
So, like, you had this pariah bolter, and basically it's rending 5s, 18-inch range, assault 3, and its downside is if you rolled 3 of the same number, it jammed and you couldn't use it anymore for the game. So there was lots of little things there. One thing that came up game 1 for us was the drop ship Hulk, like just fiery mess. So like to represent that the ship had crash landed from last year, we did that set of rules. And unfortunately, my table rolled a 1, and it just completely nuked one of my Mordathan squad. So I was like, "That's neat," but otherwise, it was all in good fun.
Those are in the Siege of Chthonia. Those rules. I can't remember what they're called, but yeah.
But 1 gives you a 3-up invuln save. 1 does really bad things to you. You don't want to roll a 1. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
As far as I will say, I played a lot of pretty tame list. I think everybody I played against, though, had a chaplain with a Thunderhammer as an upgrade for a Praetor. And it's like, the whole thing is like, there's the Paragon Blade versus Thunderhammer. I think the only thing I'd like to see is you can't take that. I'd rather it just be a Power Fist. I mean, but that's like my only negative criticism is because I played against so many Thunderhammers, man. Like, it's like everybody.
I mean, for as much as you can say, like, hey guys, this isn't a thing for you to look for ultimate options and break it. It's more supposed to be about this is your theme and this is what's going on. Unfortunately, we can't completely force people into that box. So there's always somebody that's going to look at it and be like, okay, sick. How can I take maximum advantage of this?
Here's the Praetor I've recently built for myself. No Thunderhammer, just a Paragon Blade. Or a Blade of Perdition.
Yeah, I've got a Blade of Perdition on my Blood Angels Praetor as well. Like, I don't know. I wish that we could see more variety out of it. I just think Brutal 2 should be even more sparse. But I don't know. Like, I'm probably gonna on that Space Wolf Praetor that I'm building. I'm probably gonna give him like 2 old dwarf axes, like just hand axes, and I'll probably just run it as a Great Frost Blade, like because that's a 2-handed weapon.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
and
it fits the rule of cool.
Yeah, and then it's got Reaping Blow 1. It doesn't have Murderous Strike or Instant Death or anything, but I've just been trying to avoid the Paragon Blade lately. Like, I mean, we all did it. I did it for years. Here's my Raven Guard guy. He's got a Paragon Blade and a Lightning Claw, and it's just 2 Raven's Talons on him. But it was just to give him the extra attack, right?
So I think Raven's Talons are a fun way to pivot off that, and I think that you guys, for my money, are trending in the right direction by trying to let Praetors select console upgrades instead of Paragon Blades. That has been my number one complaint about Astartes for like 15 years now, is that there's no way to make your HQ choice, your compulsory HQ choice, do anything other than just beat the other guy in the face. And unfortunately, for a number of legions that I've played, I would say that at least potential builds of Raven Guard HQs would fall in here as well. Alpha Legion, Thousand Suns, like, your Legion trait just doesn't give you enough of a leg up in close combat, so it's like, great, cool. You and I paid the same amount of points for the same character, and I will lose Praetor Fight Club in excess of 60% of the time just because my Legion rule doesn't do anything for me there.
Yeah. With when I was playing like Trader Raven Guard to still get some utility out of my Ashen Claws, like there would occasionally be instances where it would work out, but I ran them with a Charnable Saber instead, like just to be a little bit different. So we would strike first, and I'm kind of fishing for 5s, but fishing for Wrens. But it was cool, but in Praetor Fight Club, like you lose your Warlord trait, so all you've got is your Legion trait, and the Warlord trait for the Ashen Claw one really helped, because if you had a better weapon skill, a better attack characteristic, or a better strength characteristic, like I would rise up to meet it. And if I was playing Loyalist, well, that's right, I was playing Loyalist that last year at Adepticon, so that's the other reason I took the Charnable Saber instead of the Paragon Blade, because Narak Kearney just has like a knife anyway. So, but the Loyalist one is if you're in a challenge with the enemy Warlord, you get like +2 strength and +2 attacks. So my Charnable Saber was going first, and it was wounding on 2s, but I'm still fishing for 5s. But I also had like 7 attacks or whatever in the charge, I think. But I don't think it ever. I think it maybe panned out for me once, like the entire time. But as soon as you lose that, then I became like useless in Praetor Fight Club, and he's got to be equipped like the same way that he was in the event, right? So he was just sitting there with his Charnable Saber and swinging away. And he almost got the World Eaters guy. I came close, but he just saved that last wound. And then that's when Pretty showed up and like with the chair, took him out.
Where next year, when I build another Praetor for whatever army I take next year, I'm going to make one that's just a dude with a chair, a power chair. That's all I was going to
I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, this year.
Use it as a power maul.
Use it as a power anything. I mean,
Zaden, my
that's always
I'm
going
worth
to be for.
that. Sorry, Duncan. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. That's always going to be for. It's just for that game. Just for Praetor Fight Club.
Yeah, to represent close combat, because I basically tried to make him, Vex or Nex, Cadius Nex, and so he has like melted bombs and a charnable glaive because it's 2-handed. And I was thinking, oh, rad grenades, he'll wound on 2s, and then we put faded in. I was like, well, there goes instant death. So
Yeah.
it's still a good time though. I had a lot of fun.
It was your idea, so you can't really complain about it.
I'm not complaining. I thought it was a good idea, and it, the last thing I'll say is I saw some really tamed lists, which I thought was pretty cool. And then I saw a couple, I saw like 2 10-man last cannon teams, and like one dude had like 3 Thanatars, which it's not that big of a deal. But like if you don't have something to deal with that sucks. And then like I think half of the field had snipers or recon marines.
But you didn't see anything that you felt was over the top or out of place, or like
I didn't.
3 like a Death Guard player with 3 last cannon squads and the 2 assault cannon squads or auto cannon squads.
No, and the guy played Andrew. He had a last cannon team and he had like a 5-man heavy culverin team, and then he had like Grave Wardens and I can't remember what the other guys are. The ones that have 3
Death
wounds.
Shroud.
Death Shroud. Yeah, he had a squad, and like it was very tame. He did have a 20-man bolter squad, and walking like with slow and purposeful, and just being able to pop out 30 shots or 20 shot or 60. Hell, I don't even remember. I lost count. I just picked up Marines at that point from bolter shots. But no, I didn't feel like anything was oppressive. A couple of the guys I talked to, like the Florida boys, they said that they felt, like there was a little bit more difficult list. But hell, I took a Kratos thinking nobody's going to take a Kratos, and one dude took 2. That Spaceball player took 2 Kratoses, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm here for it.
Yeah, as you get new players, the new players tend to have a little harder lists, I find. And it's really nothing other than, they're coming from 40K, something like that, right?
We had so many people from 40K too.
Yeah, so usually their first foray into that sort of narrative is a bit of an adjustment, especially if it's a whole new game system, right? And a lot of them, they don't, for whatever reason, they don't like to play 40K as a narrative, despite it actually has a very good narrative campaign system, like built into it, 9th and 10th edition, where your guy can actually level up, and it's almost RPG-ish. Like if you're an AdMech guy, like you can go out and collect Archaeotech and just jack your dude up, or you can go full Zenerite with them and start stealing alien curios and strapping them to your war chassis and stuff.
It might have been, just the narrative EO2, because a lot of the guys who came this year, they said they were not happy with the 40K narrative event last year.
40K narrative, yeah. Because I got the sense, because I walked around in it a few times last year. I get the sense that it's like, oh yeah, it's narrative, but it looks almost like a whole collection of guys that show up way too hard to co-ed softball.
Yeah, I got that feeling too.
Yeah. And we didn't really have any of that. We have people that are adjusting a little bit, but they see it and they see that everyone else is kind of, oh yeah, you know what, not everyone's taking a 10-man team, not everybody's doing this, like and it's nice to see that the effort and sort of changing, I guess this will be a pun, changing the narrative with what LVO heresy scene is like. It's been tough, but the first year back, we sold 40 odd tickets, and then we sold 70 odd tickets, and then we sold 100. So it's growing year over year, which is nice, and I think it's growing more than FLG ever thought that it could. So I don't know if this will be made good or not, but the guy was actually mentioning that he wants to shift us up to the front, so that we're kind of the first ones that people see, because we're having a good time and we have cinematic battles and we've got like this whole level of hobby. And instead of like people walking in and seeing a whole room of dour people that are very concentrated and very focused on what they're doing because they're trying to win a tournament, it's like I mentioned, I don't think I saw a lot of fun in there, because they're being competitive about it, right? They're like, I'm here, I need to try to win. If I win, I get the cash prize and I get this. Like the stakes are high, and that's a lot of stress on a person, right? But if that's how you like your competition, then more power to you. But it doesn't paint a picture to people that are just walking in to check it out and see if it's their kind of thing, right? So I don't know. We may get moved up front, we may not. It's hard to say, but the Zone Mortalis guys are with us. The Adeptus Titanicus, like the small scale guys, are with us, and all of it feeds into the same campaign system. And Anton and the Zone Mortalis guys actually had a whiteboard for us, so you could actually see what each contribution was like through the day. So you could see orbit, you could see planet side, and then on planet side you saw like aeronautica, you saw this, you saw that, and the traders actually had the lead for the first day, and then the loyalists, to give them a bit of a boon on the second day, I had a few packs of the Scandus Tactics cards. So I shuffled them up and I gave every loyalist got 2 cards. So I'm like, you got 1 tactic to use in each game, maybe, because I haven't looked at them and I don't know if they're applicable in 2.0. But I was like, if it doesn't work, then yeah, well, that's good. But I was like, if it doesn't work, then I don't know, your supply cache sucked. It didn't have anything good in it. like, but
I had the one that was like divine intervention, and basically my praetor, who was murdered by a world eater's like raving madman, just randomly came back to life.
sweet.
And then in my last game I played against the Word Bears player, he completely like wiped out my 20-man despoiler squad with his Marigal or the Marigal
Alvor
Dreadnought.
Oh yeah.
No, he had two Marigals, and it just like ate through him, just like the Cookie Monster, just dom 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 dom. And I was like, oh hey, surprise, they're back. Reinforcements. He was so pissed.
Yeah, but I mean, it worked out because you guys, and it was close. Like the whole campaign was close. Like when we got there on day 3, it was like a 10-point difference total. Like, so, it was still within striking distance for traders to come back and take it back, but couldn't pull it off.
So are you planning on running it again next year, or are you going to call this your final year running it?
I don't know. I designed a map, which was cool. So actually that'll be up for sale if people want to get it shipped. Probably not. Well, I mean, this week. I don't know when you guys drop this, but so probably not the last week of January, but probably / first week of February, but probably the second week of February it'll be up. With work and COVID, I just didn't have time to follow up on it. And this year was actually a lot of fun. The last few years, I've either had some kind of a stressor or an injury or anything, and I think that kind of bagged on me a little bit. 2022 was COVID, and the whole time I was like, if I get sick, I'm not even getting back into the country. I'm gonna have to stay in like a COVID hotel, and so I didn't do anything for the first year. Like it was literally, I went down, I did my job, and then I went and got food. And I took that food up to my room and I just sat there and watched Friends until it was time to go back down. Well, until it was time to go to sleep. And then I'd get up and then it'd be time to go back down. I'd change my mask twice and washing my face twice a day and wash my hands. I went through like 2 bottles of hand sanitizer just to make sure I could get home. And I did it, which was fair. And then, last year, like I had such a bad Achilles tendonitis that like just moving around was like existence was pain. Last year. And so this year it was nice, we weren't trying to rush through, taking it down to two games a day as well. I think took a lot of pressure off me, which again made it a little more chill, made it a little more relaxed, and I was able to kind of hang out, and I was able to talk to people. I was able to, I went and bought Shadow Specters and built a Shadow Specter, so I had something to do as well. And I think that's something else that the Heresy community should pat itself on the back, especially all the players that show up. Like they self-manage themselves fairly well. A couple questions come up, but it's not like, okay, what do I do? Where do I go next? What do I do now? This, that, and the other thing. Everybody's an adult, and for the most part, everybody acts like an adult, and it's refreshing and it's easy. So it was actually enjoyable this time. We got derailed because we were playing video roulette. And we forgot about the hockey game, but we were going to go see the Knights.
Yeah.
And then we remembered as we were driving by, and it was like, we were like, okay, well, the game starts in like 30 minutes. And I was like, nah, I want this mozzarella stick. Like, I don't want to eat like, arena food for the same price that I'm going to get this dynamite pizza, cannoli, and mozzarella stick for.
So good.
Yeah. But then there's time to explore the other booths and see the other game systems and just take it all in. It was nice. It was nice this time. It wasn't.
And I'll say as a player, I like that a lot more too, because I got to spend time with my wife. Like we took LVO as a vacation, so like I didn't feel rushed to have to stay out till 6:00 getting that third game in. It was like 4:30, we were done, and it was so much better to just kind of like, we can go eat. We're not rushing. It was just, I like the 2 games as well.
Yeah. And then you're not caught up because everybody else is running 3 games, right? So then you're not caught up at the elevators waiting in this massive lineup. It takes you 45 minutes to get to your room, drop your stuff off. It takes you another 30 minutes. Next thing, it's an hour and a half before you can get down to try to figure out dinner or anything. And at that point, it's already like 9:00 at night. What are you going to do? Like,
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because it was 6:30. Now it's 7:38. And then you've eaten, it's 9:30. The whole thing, I don't know, it's a lot, right? And then especially if you're a guy working it, like And we started later this year too, which was nice. So we, it's not like, okay, guys, be down here for like 8:45, be down here for like starting games at 9 because we got to fit 3 games in today, before 7:00. So it was nice. Like it was nice. It wasn't as painful as it's been the last few times.
So if you run it again next year, you'll run it pretty much the same format again.
Same format, but I don't know what the story will be, and I don't know what the gimmick will be.
No. I just mean about the timelines to allow people to have rests and breaks. And
oh yeah. And I think we had like an hour and a half for lunch even. Like,
nice.
It was So if your game went over a little bit, great. Like play through it. You still got time to go eat. The whole thing was just a little more calm, which was nice.
Wow.
Like
yeah.
Well, it sounds like everybody, at least from what I've seen online, and from people posting pictures and whatnot, it seems like everybody who was there had a good time. Blake, definitely sounds like you had a good time. Did it with you, Alex. So I'm just glad that it went well. Maybe next year I'll be able to show up. I doubt it because life sucks, but we'll see.
It's the spirit. Yeah, and you know what? And props to FLG. Like last year as well, we didn't have the terrain that we were supposed to have, and they took that to heart, and they were like, no. And they had me send them pictures of what a 30K table should look like. And they committed, and we had more terrain than we needed this time, and I didn't have to lift a finger. Like I got down there at noon on Thursday. Like I got down to the room at noon on Thursday. All the mats were out, all the terrain was out, and they were like, "Nah, you're good, man." And I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna go play a poker tournament. I'll be back." And it wasn't like it was last year where I get there and I'm trying to find where's the mats, where's the terrain, and where's this, and and I'm running back and forth. Especially last year, like my legs were so much worse, and it's like, guys, like I can't keep walking back and forth like this. This is killing me. And I was 22,000 steps or whatever, and the rest of the weekend was literally feet up on a chair, back to the room, putting ice bags on, just trying to chill. This year I had to ice a couple times, but it wasn't debilitating like it was the year before.
I'm very glad to hear that part.
Yep. Yeah. So, kudos where kudos is due.
And then I don't know if we can share it or not, but I know that they said that they were going to commit more terrain as the 40K tournament circuit retires out. We're going to get that extra terrain, and it'll be more uniform. So
yeah, they did mention that. So that way we can kind of pick and choose and have more theme and more everything else. They're
using 40K. They're going to like standardized tables for tournament with like the terrain and everything's the same or whatever. Basically, it's just placed in the same spots or whatever.
Yeah. Like Kill Team has been doing that for a while, and I think that's why they're doing that. Kill Team was like, I think the games actually have like a terrain map on them, so they're actually like, this is how your thing is supposed to look, right? And so it actually is pretty balanced on each mission, because each mission actually tells you how to line the terrain out and what the terrain is. Like, I don't know if anyone plays Kill Team, but like each campaign book has typically come with its own campaign terrain. And so they're like, yo, this is how you play Into the Dark. And these are the Into the Dark rules. And this changes the game a little bit because now you're losing a lot of the 3-dimension. You're playing like in dark hallways and stuff. And then when you look at it, it's like, this is how you set up the rooms. And it's like, this is deployment zone 1, this is deployment zone 2, and everything's very, very balanced and very, very even to the degree that a game with so many moving parts can be. Right. I don't think I've seen any tournament results for Kill Team where it's like it's always this team. But for me, I mean, my Garage Hammer group, we don't take anything seriously, but like we play Kill Team because it's fast and it's fun and like crazy stuff happens. It's not quite to the same depth of chicanery that like Necromunda can get, but you do get those like TSN turning point moments sometimes while you're playing it, and they've got some cool teams like Eldar Corsairs and Tau Pathfinders. I just wish we'd get like a really cool Adeptus Mechanicus team of just like specialist tech priests, just like the game. Maybe this season. I don't know, because it takes place on like a Forge World. So, but I just got the new box.
They don't know how to spell the world beta.
Yeah. That's just how they chose to spell it. But I just got the one with the scouts and the scorpions in it, and I'm going to turn those scouts into wolf scouts. So probably eventually I'll have enough to at least run like 1,500 points of Space Wolves and 30k.
Nice.
But yeah, they're slick. I found that the scout shoulder pad is almost the same size. It's a little bit bigger than like the dwarf shoulder pads that I have. And just like put a little bit of furry and slap those things on. Do a little head swap, maybe some face tattoos. Swap the sniper rifle on the sniper out for like a bow. That'd be cool.
Interesting way of doing it.
That's all I do, man.
Well, do you have any closing thoughts about everything? Anything you're looking forward to changing?
No, I mean, I play my events pretty close to the chest, so if there was anything that I was going to change, you wouldn't know until you get there day of.
I don't mean like narrative wise or campaign wise, but things where you're sitting there going, well, this didn't quite work as well for mission wise, so maybe I'll drop it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mix books. I mean, maybe I can mix Siege of Cthonia missions, like primary objectives, and the other one primary objectives. Like maybe I can do that, but I won't know until the Beta Garmin book comes out, so I can't really say for sure. But I suspect I'll be able to mix those missions with less grinding, I guess. But yeah, I think that's probably it. Check out Buy the Mat if you can. It supports me, allows me to keep doing stuff like this because I mean, all these 3 LVOs have been. I've put some degree of my own money into each one of them, and this helps me out because I get a portion of it back. So of each mat sale, and then follow me on Instagram. When does this drop?
Realistically, probably next Sunday.
Next Sunday? Okay, yeah. So by that point, I'll actually be abnormal minis on Instagram. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a change as I sort of recenter myself and get myself back to where I want to be because for the last few years, I've just been chasing and chasing and chasing. I'm trying to get this army done for this event, or I'm trying to do this, or this slow grow is happening, and I want to support that, so I'm trying to do that. And I'm never doing anything that I actually want to do to be creative. So it's as part of my entire recentering, I'm trying to just wipe my slate clean and start new for me. So follow me at Abnormal Minis, ABNRML Minis.
Okay, well, cool. Blake, you have any final thoughts?
Just I think I felt like such a Richard for taking a Mortat with dual Archaeotech pistols. I don't think I'll do that next year. I mean, I tried really hard to really tone down my list, and I still tabled like 2 of my opponents in like feels bad moments. So my goal is to try and find that median where my opponent's still going to have fun, but I'm still going to give them a competitive narrative event. So
you just need to play against me more. Just beat me into the sand and see when I start crying and stuff. You're like, okay, now I need to tone this list down.
Yeah.
So dual disintegrator pistols next time.
So the only problem with that is I've killed myself so many times on my regular Mortat with that. I was just like, I could do it though. I mean, now that that you can cheese it a little bit and you can put a apothecary in the squad, so you get some 5-up feel no pains from those AP2 ones that you roll. But other than that, that's pretty much it for me. I'm gonna, I try really, really hard to make everything themed. Like I have this whole story with my army and my characters, and like I didn't even bring my Praetor, who I normally bring, but he'll be at Adepticon, so that'll be cool.
Neat.
But otherwise, that's it for me.
Cool. I'm gonna fight him in the Praetor Weight Championship.
All right. I got dual Ravenclaws and I got a sniper rifle, baby.
I'm gonna have dual frost axes. Just as a great frost blade though, so I still get an initiative.
I'm here for it.
I've got a guy who's looking at having dual phalanx blades, so
oh yeah. Just dual weapons. Just dual weapons the entire thing.
I still, every time I hear dual phalanx blades, I'm just thinking of things.
Yeah.
Things.
Things as you make the gesture. Yes.
Your
Because
foul sport.
those things are exactly what we all know exactly what you're talking about.
It's Drax from Guardians 2, where he's dived into the monster and he doesn't realize it's just as tough on the inside, right? Like, he's got
Yeah.
two swords. That's the only thing
that's
we could be
exactly
talking
what-
about here.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
no way this could be confused with G, Bill. How come your mom lets you have two... Anyway.
Yeah.
I've got tears in my eyes. Oh my god.
Do either of you have any final closing thoughts, or does anybody have any final questions for him?
I'd just like to say thanks to both Alex and Blake for coming on. We don't normally have a whole lot of guests that do come on, but it's always a pleasure when we do have people. And I know we know both Alex and Blake very well. So, and I look forward to seeing them both, I guess, at Adepticon, right? Yeah?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'll be there.
I'm not playing anything. I'm just about, but
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
And
I'm
Alex,
helping
thank
with
you for
paints, I guess.
running these things, the events. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries. Happy to do it, guys. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure. Blake, next time wear a shirt that matches your chair. Come on, wear the
Oh.
chair.
My bad.
Yeah, an absolute delight to have you guys on. Here's hoping that we will see you two listeners here on the next episode of the Heresy Accountabilibuddies Podcast. I've been Jacob, and again, we were joined by Blake and Alex to recap LVO here. Remember, stay accountable to your hobby and to your buddies, and we'll see you here next time.